odd stretch request, a little one. So go ahead and find yourself, we will do that. Find yourself in an upright posture. And as you are upright, remember you can be any position leg-wise that feels good for you, and that helps facilitate the lengthening of the spine. So don't feel like you have to look like me. Close the eyes when you get all situated and just start to check in. One, let's check in first to our base. What do I mean by that? Anything touching the earth or a prop underneath you, can that settle into the earth a little bit more? If you like the image of roots growing down, imagine those roots growing down into the earth. And then just like a tree or anything that roots down, really, right? Most living things, I guess I should say, they root down and then they grow up out of that. So let the spine grow up tall out of that. But then all those ancillary parts, they don't have to lift up. So soften your eyelids down, your forehead down, your eyebrows, your jaw, your tongue, your shoulders, right? Those other bits and pieces, can they soften down? And I haven't talked about it in a while, but y'all know I love that image. Those who have been with me, I love that image of the head being a helium balloon floating up gently. But then the rest of our body is similar to that string that hangs down, right? And there's this soft surrendering quality to it. And I'm not sure for my friends on Zoom, if you're catching it, for those in the park, it might be a noisy day here in the park. If you're getting focused on that and you're having judgment come in, that's part of your yoga practice. I want to get irritated because I want to be like, hey, this is yoga class. It's supposed to be nice and peaceful. But can you tune out the sound as best you can, or just acknowledge it without judging it? And like I just said, that's work for me too, right? I don't have this stuff all figured out. I'm trying. And anything else that's going on for you, breath-wise, emotion-wise, energetic-wise, anything I'm not naming off-wise, right? Just check in briefly. And then let's go ahead, inhale and open the eyes. So depending on your knee joints, I'm gonna have you go ahead and come onto hands and knees, right? You're gonna bring your knees into touch and let your feet go out a little wider than your hips. And for my friends who have blocks, have them standing by. Not all of us are gonna sit down necessarily if we don't have a block, but have it behind you, right? And then we're gonna go ahead and kind of like we do when we pulse in and out of child's pose, but this time the knees are in and the feet are a little wide and come forward. What this is hopefully going to do is start to stretch the muscles, the part of the quads that run down into the knees. So it's a baby stretch, hopefully. You're only going back as far as your knees allow. If that block prevents you from going to your stretchy area, you could move the block out of the way. And for some of my friends, next time you come down, you're just going to sit here and you're going to leave the body forward. This is less intense. Some of my friends, you're going to start to upright the body, which is going to lengthen those muscles around the knees even more, right? So my feet are out, my heels are outside of my hips, my knees are together. I'm putting that in air quotes because they don't touch because of the thighs, right? And we're taking a breath from this place, maybe forward, maybe butt higher, maybe body up. Where's the right place for you to live? Right? And some of my friends, you might be able to move the block and sit your buttocks down on the ground. For me, that's getting a little extreme this morning since I haven't really been in there. Come forward, everybody. Separate the knees and bring the feet back in so you're all hip distance and aligned. And we're going to move in and out of a couple of cat cows, a few cat cows. Nothing too fancy. Inhale, shoulders down the back, chest reaches forward. See if I can use my mouth today. Exhale, pull the belly up, round the spine up to the sky. And then find your own pace. Do that a few times for yourself and just kind of notice your spine. So we're moving in and out of flexion and extension for this exercise. Maybe there's an area that's a little sore, maybe an area that's often sore, feels freer today, etc., right? And then we're going to kind of do an asymmetry with this. I want you to let your right shoulder reach forward and over to the right as your left hip reaches back into the left and come back to center. And then let your left shoulder reach forward to the left and kind of off to the left as your right hip reaches off your mat to the right. So it's this weird diagonal line, yeah? And do that again. Right shoulder, left hip. Come back to center. Left shoulder, right hip. They move away from each other gently, whatever that means in your body this morning. Come back to center. And then we're going to go into those rib rolls. And it doesn't have to be super specific roll circling. It can be kind of free form, letting your head and your shoulders move wherever. Maybe you stay in one position and take a breath if you find an area that is getting a lovely stretch in it. And I'm pretty animalistic with it. And then go ahead and come on back to center. Our more traditional child's pose, where our knees go wide, our big toes touch, sinking the buttocks back. Of course, leave the hips higher if that's better for your knees or hips. Forehead towards the ground, or building a little bridge of the floor up to your forehead if the forehead doesn't make it is also wonderful. Elbows can go a little wide. Forearms can come down. 3 breaths. Inhale, low back expands. Exhale, soften. Inhale, mid back expands, that bottom rib cage area, yeah. And exhale, soften. And inhale right behind your shoulder blades, that general upper back area. And exhale, soften. Now go ahead and come back up to hands and knees. Move the knees back in, the feet out a little bit. We're going to step our right foot out to the right edge of the mat. And we're going to go into lizard, kind of big for some of us, but go nice and slow. First, we're going to circle the hips, right? So my right foot is out wide. I can be up on blocks if I prefer. All of that is on the table. Go the other direction with your circle. Just trying to wake up those joints a little bit. And you can always be angled out a little bit to the left if that's better for you, of course. And then inhale, come back to center. And this time we're going to try to drop down, especially with that right hip, which is not going to want to join the party. Ask it to come down as well. Maybe forearms to block or ground. Maybe elbows just bend a little, whatever that is for your body. Again, this is a big one right in the beginning of class. So just say good morning. Don't let it be too crazy. And then moving the hips back, stepping the right leg back, stepping the left foot out wide to the outside of the left hand, and then circling the hips a few times. And circling the other way. You can make this as big or little as you want to. You can come on a fist and even my wrist issue, friends. I just made another look ma no hands for my Patreon folks. Come back to center, inhale, lengthen the spine, and exhale, go ahead and let that left hip, everything else, yes, but the left hip, drop it down in and just start to say good morning. Hello, left hip. I love you so much, even though sometimes you're tight and you radiate pain down my leg and all the things, right? Or you pinch a nerve that radiates the pain, it's not the hip itself. Go ahead and move the hips up, move that left foot back, moving into downward dog, walking hands a little forward, curling toes under, and go ahead and head on into your downward dog. If you feel like you'd like to straighten one leg while you bend another, or sway the hips side to side, or any of those motions that sometimes bring spaciousness into different parts of our body, move it around, do your thing. Again, always think of, I've gotten to the point where my asana, my physical practice, to me, it's just an exploration of my body. Take a breath, and then we're going to walk our hands back to our feet. We'll end up at the back of our mat. Hands on the shins, straighten the arms and reach that chest forward, shoulder blades towards the buttocks, tone the belly in, stay here. Knees can be just slightly bent, soft, right? And then just starting to warm up that upper back. So remember that belly stays gently toned up, but I'm trying to isolate to that area right about at the bottom tips of my shoulder blades. Like I could wrap around a high bar here. And is your chin reaching forward? Can it be more the crown of the head and your chin just gently moves in a little? And come on down. Now we're going to bring that concept up with us. Hands on the hips, elbows up. Find that same spine and come up with a long spine all the way to standing. And bring those arms on down and come on up to the top of your mat. From the top of the mat, just standing nice and tall for a moment. Interlace your hands behind your back. We're going to kind of do some once all over stuff, but we'll get those quads too. So as you bend the elbows, we already started to play with them, right? As you push into your sacrum, move those elbows back and move them together like they're magnetized, right? And then from there, notice if your ribs flare. That's not everybody, but that's some of us. So we lengthen that and we try to isolate it right at that bottom tips of the shoulder blades area. Maybe those knuckles reach down. Maybe the knees bend and we forward fold with it. But when you forward fold, don't let it be about your legs right now. Let it be about the upper back lengthening, strengthening, shoulder heads lifting, maybe knuckles lifting. But can you soften your head and let the neck be free here? Take another breath wherever you are. And then reach the knuckles back, reach the chest forward, tone the abdomen to come back up. And release the hands down. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. Keep an element of what you just found, right? Exhale and fold. Hands on shins, quicker, but same upper back strengthener here. Inhale up. Now bend your knees and plant your hands and step your left foot back. Working strength, coming out of fingertips or blocks or wrists or fists, sorry. Go ahead and move your heels back and your chest forward. Keep that belly toned up, right? Don't let that get lost. Maybe your arms reach forward and up, or maybe just the right arm if you want one arm, but you don't want both, and get longer still. And bring the hands down, bring the left knee down. Keep the length of the spine. Inhale, come up into low lunge, Anjaneyasana. Frontal hip points pull up, buttocks flesh down, nothing too brand new. Soft inner shoulders. And yet every time I say it, at least one student probably is like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh, me too. And take another breath. Bring your right hand on your right thigh. Lean over to the right and lengthen out of that left side body. If it's okay with your shoulder girdle, turn and look back. Rotate that arm and circle it behind you. Fingertips on shoulder would be a gentler version of that. Bring it all the way forward and do that again. I'm showing the modification in case anyone's like, ooh, that's a little too much for my shoulder, yeah? And then when you come up through center. Both arms reach up, frontal hip points up. Exhale, hands down, stepping back to downward dog or your variation thereof. Most all y'all know me pretty good, but I've got a couple of newer friends. That means you could be on hands and knees doing cat-cow if downward dog feels like you don't want to do it, or child's pose, anytime. Take another breath. Inhale, left leg into air behind you. Float it forward between the hands, or push it, or forklift it. On fingertips or blocks, get the longest spine you possibly can. That right heel pushing back helps. Crown of the head reaching forward helps, right? Tone the low abdomen. Now, maybe you reach both of those arms or just the left arm, right? Either one forward and get as long as you can possibly get through your whole torso. Now bring the hands down, keep the length of the torso, bring the right knee down, uncurl the toes. Inhale, coming up into Anjaneyasana. Biggest pieces for me, frontal hip points up and the buttocks flush down, right? That keeps that low back long. And then are your shoulders overworking? That's a big one for a lot of folks. So soften those shoulders. Left hand, left thigh, and you guys are leaning over to the right. Left, over to the left to strengthen and lengthen that right side body, yeah? Now again, either fingertips on shoulders, circling elbow, or you turn, rotate, look back, rotate that whole arm back, and maybe doing that circle one more time if that's feeling groovy. And this time I'll show the modification in case your shoulder's like, oh geez, I don't know about that one, right? And then when you reach forward, go ahead and come both arms back up, lengthen, find that soft inner shoulder business. Exhale, hands down, step forward to the top of your mat. Hands on shins, chest forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms can come out, find that same long spine, and you can leave your hands on your hips the whole dang day. Exhale, arms out and down, adding on. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Pause. Put your hands on a block or the ground so you have balance. Walk your toes to the middle of your mat till they touch. Cross your right ankle in front of your left, mirror image in your toes, and drop the right heel towards the ground. This is that IT band stretch I sometimes lead you in, right? My heel does not have to touch. As it reaches down, my left outer hip is like, holy moly. And I'm like, hello, IT band. I love you. You protect that outer hip and thigh and keep that toned in, that musculature. Thank you so much. Inhale, reach the chest forward, uncross the legs. Ankles specifically. Cross your left ankle in front of your right. Watch out for walnuts being flung at you by squirrels. I think I'm the one closest to the walnut trees right now. Go ahead and push that left heel down any amount, lengthen spine, and then folding in. And again, invite your right outer thigh / hip area to get a little lengthening. Fascia, we want it to be fairly taut, but this particular area of the body usually gets a little too taut. Inhale, chest forward, unwind the shins, separate your feet to hip distance, move blocks if you're working with them. Hands on the, by the knees, hands on the ground, step your right foot back, bring the right knee down, uncurl the toes, inhale up into Anjaneyasana. We're gonna go into twist, but we're gonna use a little more musculature today. You're gonna reach your right fingertips forward and your left fingertips back and tone that low belly up and in, right? And twist to the side of your mat. Like you could parallel your chest to the left side of the long side of the left side of the mat, right? Now keep that, but turn your head and look over the right fingertips if that's okay. If balance is an issue, walk your left foot out to the left. That'll help stabilize. Now go ahead and you're going to turn and you're going to look back towards your left fingertips if that's okay with your neck. I know this is balance. I know. Now try to keep your head where it is. Lean forward until your right hand comes down to the floor on the outside of your left foot or the inside of your left foot. And then here we are in our more traditional, oh, thank goodness, I know this one. Now soften the shoulders away from the ears, push into the right hand, twist the ribs, maybe turn and look up, take a breath. Anyone who wants extra juice, curl your right toes under for the last breath, straighten the right leg, lifting the knee and get longer still. Bring left hand to ground. Step back, downward facing dog or your variation thereof. Breathe. How's that downward dog compared to that first one that we did? Yeah? And not meaning good, bad, just meaning noticing if it feels different. Inhale the right leg into the air behind you. Float that foot forward between the hands, whatever float means to you this morning. Left knee down and uncurl the toes to start and inhale up into our low lunge. Frontal hip point, buttock flex, shoulder, everything I've said so far. Now we're going to reach our right fingertips back and our left fingertips forward. I mean, really use your arms. Your arms are really going to help you leverage the rib cage, but keep the side waist long, the low belly toned. Now, if it's okay, go ahead and turn and look over your left fingertips. We're playing with balance. This is your vestibular system, right? And then go ahead and turn and look back over those right fingertips. Now keep your head in that position-ish. Reach forward with the left hand until it comes down inside the right foot and you're in your more traditional pose, yeah? Now, push into the left hand, left shoulder blade down the back to rotate the ribs. Maybe that allows you to turn into it deeper. Curl your left toes under and straighten that leg if you want that extra little bit of juice and get longer. I'm looking down solely for vocal quality. You can be looking up towards the right fingertips. Bring the right hand down, step forward to the top of your mat. Hands on shins, reaching chest forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, your arm variation, long spine brings you all the way up. Exhale, bring those arms down, close or mostly close the eyes and just take 2 breaths or so. Tune in, what's happening there? Inhale, open the eyes. Coming down to our bellies through a sun salutation, A, right? Inhale, reach those arms out and up. Exhale and fold. Hands on shins, chest forward. Bending knees, planting hands, step, top of a push-up. Plank. Let's all bring our knees down for the first one. I'll give you a time for a push-up in a little bit, right? So we're still going to keep our belly toned up. We're not going to come down like a snake. We're going to bend our elbows and brush our side body and slowly lower all the way to the belly. Uncurl the toes, press into the tops of the feet. I like to get space right at my hip joints. I usually lose a little on the way down. right? And as I lift my thighs up, I'm going to come up into low cobra. Remember, it's not my hands doing the work, it's my upper back. It's that same high bar concept we used earlier. We keep the belly toned up to stay out of the low back and protect that beautiful low back of yours. Now keep your body like this. Go ahead and straighten your arms out in front of you. Karate chopping, hi-ya, Miss Piggying, right? The ground underneath you with your pinky fingers. Keep that belly pulling forward between the hands, even as the hands pull back towards the belly. That's a traction action, right? And then from there, I'm going to lift my right arm and my left leg. Here I'm going swimming. And bring that down. It's not about how high you lift it, it's about getting longer. Left hand, right leg. Can they move away from each other even more dramatically, right? And bring that down. This time, same concept, but don't let your hips go anywhere. As the right leg and the left, or right arm, left leg reach, don't let that left hip drop down. You feel how it wants to? And bring that down. It's not wrong. I'm just asking for refinement. One more time, left arm, right leg. Don't let that right hip drop down. And bring that down. We're going to bring our hands back, stacking palms. Forehead comes to the palms. I'm going to go to fists so you can hear my voice a little better. Soften everything. If right now your low back is like, woo-wee, maybe you're going a little too high, a little too far, and you're not supporting the low back, right? So please, please be aware of that as we continue. Now we're going to come up into Sphinx pose, which means our elbows are going to come underneath our shoulders. If you do have a sensitive low back, I suggest having those elbows even further forward so you don't have as much of a curve happening at the low back, right? Tone the belly forward as you pull your forearms back. So that's that isometric traction action. Now from there, go ahead and bend your right knee. You're going to reach back with that right hand. Keep the knee in. Don't let the knee go wide. And then I'm going to try to pull my heel to the outside of my right buttocks. And that's hopefully saying hello to your right quads, right? If you're like, I'm not feeling much, Crystal Joy Johnson, put your fingertips on top, your hand on top of your toe tips. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to turn your hand out to the right and pull the heel down by rotating the fingers forward. That's pretty extreme for most quadriceps. I know. I'm just pointing it out because it might be there for someone, right? And breathing. That's a little more than I need this morning. My elbow bends up in order to find that place for me personally. Take one more breath. Keep that belly toned up, please. And go ahead and bring that down, resting in between, stacking hands, pausing, checking in with that beautiful low back, which hopefully is not being compromised to try to open quads or do upper back bends. Coming into Sphinx, either elbows underneath the shoulders or further forward if you know your low back is sensitive, right? Bending left knee, reaching back with left hand to try to grab onto that foot, letting the knee stay in like we did in Virasana, right? But pulling the heel to the outer buttocks of the left hip. And then from there, again, if you're like, I'm not feeling my quads, you put your hand on top of the toes, you turn the fingers forward to the front of your mat and bring that heel down to the outer buttocks. And you breathe wherever you are, please. Keep the belly toned up so you're not in your low back. And go ahead and release that leg down. We get one more rest here. We'll do a little opener for the low back and then we'll come off of our bellies. So there's your little quad stretch, which to some people is like there was nothing little about that. Quads are tricky, tricky mistresses. Now go ahead and bend your knees and let your shins, your heels, windshield wiper back and forth. And hopefully this is just delightful in the low back. If it's not, sure, don't do it or don't go as far with the motion, yeah? And breathing. And then one more piece here. Go ahead and let your feet, the pinky edge of your big toe edge of your feet come together in heels and slide your knees out to about the width of your mat. And I love this one personally for my sacrum. I let my right arch roll down my left shin and I slide it back up. I'm demonstrating if that doesn't make sense. My left arch rolls down my right calf and back up. And I'll keep doing it. Once you look at me and you see it, make sure you bring your forehead back down so you please don't hurt your neck. And just go ahead and whoosh wash back and forth a couple of times with this beautiful external rotation. If I put you in an MRI machine, what would your pelvis, your SI joints be doing right now? And then go ahead and let those legs extend. I'm gonna bring my thighs back in, my knees back in a little bit by curling my toes under. Bring your hands next to your low floating ribs, keeping knees on the earth, tone the belly, push into the arms, come up through a half push-up. And downward dog is what I'm gonna suggest. If you're a low back sensitive person, maybe you wanna go into a child's pose and let that low back round and rest. Take a breath, wherever you are, right? Take another breath here. We're going to come forward to the top of our mat, but we're not in a rush. Come up on the tippy toes, bend the knees, look forward and step or jump forward. Hands on shins when you get there and reach that chest forward. And if you're a little behind us, that's totally fine, right? Exhale, fold in. You're not doing anything wrong. Inhale, coming all the way up to standing. You're just finding your own darn way today. Exhale, bring those arms down, close or mostly close the eyes, tune in for just a couple of breaths and notice. Open those eyes, come to standing on the long edge of your mat. You can turn your mat towards me if you want. Otherwise, just stand wide and know your directions enough to kind of follow since we'll all be facing different directions. I'm going to mirror my Zoomers. So we're going to take our left toes in or kick the heel back, and that whole right leg turns out. Inhale those arms out nice and wide, and exhale, bend the right knee. Now today I'm going to have you bring your right hand down on the inside of that thigh. And literally, I mean, be careful. You don't want to push it so the knee's all the way over on the pinky edge, right? But you're going to do just a little bit of lengthening in that inner groin area so the knee moves right over the second toe. Put your left hand on your left thigh and push the left thigh back, right? So I'm pushing gently on both thighs, moving them away from each other. I'm pushing that back heel down, and then I'm reaching my arms back up. One more piece. Can that right hip point gently, don't come out of the bend, but gently that right hip point comes up a little bit. So instead of this in the pelvis, we come to a more neutral pelvis from up, the up-down angle, right? Don't know if that made sense. I didn't say that very well, I don't think. Maybe those shoulders soften down away from the ears, and we turn and look over the right fingertips. Straighten the legs, hands on hips, turn the toes forward. Turning right toes in and kicking heel back or whole left leg out, not or, and whole left leg out. Inhale those arms out wide and exhale, bend the left knee. Again, today I'm going to have you put your left hand on your left thigh. I'm both lengthening my thigh and helping my inner knee move over the second toe. Keep that hand there. Right hand on the right thigh, push into that right thigh a little bit and get that back outer heel to push down in that activation, right? Inhale the arms back up. Keep those strong, strong legs. But now keep that left hip point, not keep it. Can you invite the left hip point to lift up just a little bit out of that tilt that it's in, right? And take a breath from that place. Maybe turning and looking over left fingertips if that's okay with your neck. Did your right shoulder come with you? Mine almost always does unless I ask it not to. And straighten the legs, hands on the hips, turn the toes forward. Turning out to the other side. Left toes in or heel back, whole right leg out. Inhale, arms out wide. Exhale, bend right knee. Imagine your hands there asking your thighs to do their work, yeah? Lifting that right hip point up. Now from there, we're gonna go into side angle. I want you to reach forward, and lengthen your right side waist, and then don't bring your arm to your forearm, rather drop it inside the leg and grab your shin if you can. If you're like, heck no, put your arm on your forearm on your leg, it's not a big deal, right? So my hand wraps back around. I'm gonna push my arm and my leg together to invite the work of that hip, that outer right hip. I'm going to turn my palm and reach that arm all the way over. If you're like, no way, my shoulder doesn't like that, put your hand on your hip and work that elbow back. Notice how the left shoulder wants to roll down. Can you roll your left shoulder back behind you and turn and look up beyond your left bicep? Is that back thigh still working or did it turn off? Mine always does. And then we're going to inhale up strongly. So without that arm braced on that leg, you got to work a little harder, right? Come on up. Put your arm on your leg if that's better for you. Hands on the hips, turn the toes forward. Turning right toes in, heel back, whole left leg out. I believe I said that correctly. And then from there, inhale the arms out. Warrior two. Imagine those hands asking, inviting those legs. The left hip lifting. Now reach forward as far as you can and lengthen your left side body, and then bring that arm inside if it's available for you today, right? You can turn the palm or you can just push into it, but push the arm and the leg together. Get that left hip, that outer left hip, to suck in and start working. Now turn the palm and look over, or hand on hip. And then can you roll that right shoulder open so your chest is parallel to a wall in front of you? And if you're reaching over, lengthen that back heel down and away from that. Maybe turning and look up, keep that right shoulder soft. It loves overworking for most of us. And then really strongly inhale, come up, 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 up. You're almost out of here, I promise. Ooh, straighten those legs. Turn the toes forward, hands on hips. Toe heel, step or jump in. Close or mostly close the eyes. Tadasana, mountain pose. This is our third time pausing for a moment in this posture. Does your body feel any differently than the first time? And then the second time? You know, and I like to remind people, I think because we're doing yoga, everyone assumes it's always going to be joy and greatness, right? But sometimes maybe we go a little too far, or maybe there was something that came up, or a nerve got pinched, or, you know, so just don't judge, don't expect, just notice. Inhale and open the eyes. We got one more standing pose to do. We're going to go ahead and step those feet out nice and wide. We're hitting 3 of the externally rotated today. So we're going to turn our left toes in, heel back, whole right leg out. Triangles where we're headed. It is a straight-legged pose. If, like me, you're a hyperextender, right? I know how to work with mine, but if you don't, or you just want the extra support the leg, right? And from there, go ahead and inhale the arms out wide. Now put your right hand on your right hip and literally karate chop it. Imagine it's me pushing your right hip back to the left side of your mat. And then lengthen forward like you're grabbing something with that right hand out in front of you, and place the hand down. Now don't worry about going lower yet. I'll get you there, I swear. Either hand on hip or left fingertips up. And then again, it's the same work, right? Can I get my right hip to come into the socket? Can I lengthen through my right inner groin? Can I roll my left shoulder back so that my right hip and my left shoulder would be against the same wall? Keep that. And maybe you creep those right fingertips down your leg a little bit, right? Breathing whenever you're at your particular edge. Maybe the shoulders are softening away from the ears and it's available to turn and look up towards the left fingertips. My friends with clouds and moving things, try to find something, a branch or something steady. Take a breath. Using left side waist coming up strongly if it's available. Bend that knee if you need to. Hands on hips. Turn the toes forward. This is the last of the bigger strength. Turn the right toes in, heel back. Someone just hung up. They got off Zoom. They're like, I'm done. I cannot do it anymore. Turn the whole left leg out. I think it was probably connection, but inhale, reach the arms out. Put your left hand on your left hip. Imagine a Crystal Joy Johnson karate chopping you back, whoosh, right? Lengthen forward with that hand, and then simply place the hand on the leg. I'm not bearing weight here. And then reach the right fingertips up or hand on hip. You got either option for that right arm. Now, can you suck that right hip into the socket and lengthen through the right inner groin, left hip and left inner groin. I'm saying it incorrectly, sorry. Roll your right shoulder back so that your left hip and your right shoulder are on the same wall. Soften the shoulders away from the ears, potentially turning to look up, playing with balance in a much bigger way. And if that hurts your neck, of course, don't do it. And then can you breathe wherever it is that you're working from? Michael, turn your left toes towards the back of the mat, and that heel, no, the exact opposite of that. Yes, that's so much gentler on the knee and the hip. Oh my gosh. And inhale, left side waist is going to bring you up, up, up. And if you're like, no, it's not, go back to where you were. Hands on the hips, turn the toes forward. Toe heel, step or jump. Well, the last time, pausing in Tadasana, mountain pose, and just noticing your body. And I know I break down the bodies, but when I say body like this, I mean all of it. Energetic, emotional, breath, all of it. Muscular, skeletal, fascia, blood, plasm. Go ahead and open the eyes. How much of it can you sense, right? Go ahead and come on forward towards the front of your mat. Walk your feet out wide. Not gonna lie, I'm gonna have you come in and out of squat a couple of times, but the first part of it is gonna be the gentler, and you can stay with that. Bend your knees and bring your fingertips to the earth or to blocks. Now, the first part of the squats, I have my feet turning out a little bit to like a 45, and I let my hips drop down to wherever their edge is. And then I inhale, I push into my heels, and I lift my hips up to whatever their height is. Exhale, dropping hips down and in, any amount. Be gentle, be kind, please. Inhale, pushing into heels, toning belly in to lift the hips. We got one more on the breath, and then we're going to try to hold a squat. Exhale, down and in. And inhale, push up. So this is, we're going to try to come in. Remember, you can always use a block. Exhale, coming down into your squat, maybe putting a block underneath the hips. If you want the support, I've got a block. I'm willing to grab anybody. I have touched it, just so you know, but I'm 14 out from that time. Go ahead and bring the arms in, put the palms together. I'm going to turn this way a little bit. We go into rounding with this. It's true. I want you to push your arms and your legs together and pull your thumbs to your chest and try to straighten and lengthen your spine as much as you can. And it's never going to straighten all the way. Don't be forceful with it, right? Just be assertive and breathe. Now reach your right hand down to wherever it reaches out to touch the ground, and turn your left arm up and move into a baby twist. It's not very big. And take a breath there, maybe turning to looking up towards the left fingers. And then bring the hands down and in, lengthen the spine. Reach the left arm out to the left and place it wherever. Reach the right arm up, baby twist here. I'm twisting you so you're forgetting about your squat. And breathe if you can, and bring that down in. Last one, palms together, lengthen spine, lengthen spine. For those of my friends where it's possible, reach the arms out, tuck the chin in, round the spine and round the spine, pull the belly back to the spine. All of us bring our hands back. We're cautious if we're on blocks when we come down so we don't hurt ourselves, buttocks to the mat. Let those legs come on out in front of you. And breathe. Nap time, everybody lay down on your back. Here we go. So from there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring our right heel towards our pubic bone. And that to you might look like this, and that's okay. There's no worries, right? Support knees if they need it. I like my left leg out a little bit. I just find a little more stability and freedom in my pelvis. Bring the fingertips back. You may or may not. We're going to go ahead and first we're going to turn towards our bent knee, right? We're going to try and turn the abdomen towards that. So now I'm framing my bent knee and I'm turning my abdomen. Keep that turning of the abdomen, but bring the left hand back to the leg and slide down and in any amount. Here we are back to that side waist work, right? Now, maybe that left arm, the hand stays on the hip and the elbow and shoulder work back. Some of my friends are going to stay there, turn and look up with that soft shoulder. Maybe that arm continues to reach over, bicep next to ear. Rotate that pinky finger down towards the ground if you're extended, just so you get that beautiful shoulder, the engagement of the rotator cuff. So Michael, go ahead and turn your pinky finger forward and then slide in, bicep next to ear. That shoulder might, so bring the arm a little forward and reach over. Bam, if that's okay. Don't hurt yourself for it, but I think your shoulder is probably going to be a little better off there. And take one more breath. And then inhale, come on up, turn forward, pause, notice right side waist, probably feeling some juice there, right? A little bit of energy. Go ahead and turn towards the left leg, our straight leg now. And now go ahead and start to fold over. Some of my friends, this feels like plenty. Some of my friends, we might bring our right hand outside the left leg and kind of push and lengthen away. Now I'm trying to get you, instead of into the side waist, into the back of the side waist, kind of right around the corner from the love handle. Soften in. Remember, if that left hamstring's on fire, bend the knee a little bit. Inhale, chest forward, come on up. Let's grab that knee and help it out. Bring it forward. Start with neutral pelvis. Does this side feel any differently than this side, right? So just kind of notice those things. And then bringing that left leg back, we get more and more familiar with our body, and that's, I think, a beautiful thing for health. Go ahead and let that right leg come on out. We turn toward, well, lengthen the spine through the middle first, I should say. And then we'll turn towards that bent knee, the left knee. And from there, we're going to bring that right hand back towards the right leg and glide down in, keeping that turn of the abdomen. Put the hand on the hip, left hand. Move the elbow and the shoulder back, that same rolling open we've been doing all of class. You can stay there, or you can reach that palm up to the sky and all the way over. So Michael, again, rotate. Yeah. It's called external rotation. It helps that shoulder find its way. And then breathing from either place. They're both beautiful. Is anybody not feeling their left side waist right now? Oh, good. You can look down if the neck is getting tired. You can keep the shoulders away from the ears and look up if you want the extra play of balance, but here it's not so much about balance. Here it's just that, that movement of the neck, right? Inhale, come up. And it can be very strengthening, but if it's hurting you, don't do it. Turn to middle, pause for a second. So we just worked here. Next, I want to try to bring you back here. Yeah. So we're going to turn towards the straight leg. We start to fold out over said straight leg. Maybe left hand, outer right leg, and I use it as leverage to kind of pull myself out of that back left side waist. And I breathe, hopefully. I hope so anyway. And then notice if your neck is turned on, your jaw, all the other stuff that you don't need that likes to help, we'll call it. Inhale, reach the chest forward. Grab the knee, assist it forward. Heels forward, knees can totally be bent. Long spine, and for here, we really need to work, for most of us anyway, that pelvis would love nothing more than to round behind you. So try to pull that pelvis up and in. Right? Maybe that's bent knees or straight legs. I like to bend my knees first, find it, and then lengthen. That's me. Inhale, reach those arms out and up. Try to keep that beautiful long spine the whole time. Your arms are up. I'm just trying to show you on my spine, right? As I fold in, I don't do this number. I keep my spine long, and then, oh, it's not folding anymore. Oh, bring your hands down. Yeah. Pull against your shins, and that might help you get just a little more. Don't be aggressive. Soft shoulders, and then soften yourself in. You can continue to pull. You can get to the feet if that's there for you without your shoulders rounding. You can turn your palms up and just soften your arms by the sides of the legs, whatever feels groovy, right? I'll give one more refinement just because this is hamstrings and we haven't done tons of hamstrings. If I put a wall in front of your feet, would your big toe push in as much as your pinky toe edge? Would your inner heel, or not your inner heel, your middle heel push in as much as those other 2 points, right? So imagine you're pushing all 3 tripod points of your feet into a wall. And is anyone not feeling the belly of their hamstrings? Yeah. Tell them you love them. Inhale, reach the chest forward and come on up. We're going to put our buttocks in the middle of our mat. My friends on the ground, before you go down, I'm going to stay on my mat today, just because otherwise the Zoomers can't see me. When we come down, we'll roll over. We'll do one more quad when we move into it, okay? And if you can't see me, I'll move around, but just so I'm going to start on my mat. Lay down on your back. You've got your core option on the way down. Nap time. Let's start by simply hugging our knees into our chest. You can put your hands on your shins or your knees or whatever the heck feels groovy. Let the back round if it wants to. Maybe rock a little bit from right to left, or maybe circling the knees. Maybe a little bit of both. So free play. Take a few moments and just play right now with whatever it is that feels super groovy in your low back and sacrum. And I say sacrum a lot. I think it's a pretty important place in our body, but it's the back of the pelvis. It's a triangular bone in the back of the pelvis. You're laying on it right now. And then from there, keep the knees towards the chest, tee the arms out. Go ahead and rock just a little bit from right to left with the knees. That can be little, or it can start to get a little bigger. Whatever feels right for you. And then the next time you go over to the right, let the legs fall over to the right. Right pinky toe hopefully makes it to the earth. Knees can come away from the body. There's no harm in that. Right hand might come on outer left thigh. It might not. Head might turn to the left. It might not. Choose your own adventure yoga. It's my favorite kind of class. That way I get to choose what my body, what would be most beneficial for the body I brought that day. Yeah, that moment. Bring those knees back up. Exhale, swinging back and forth a couple of times before we go all the way over to the left. If that feels okay to you, stillness would work too. And then next time you're over to the left, swing over to the left, let the pinky toe make it down. Possible add-ons. Left hand out or right thigh is one of them. Turning the head to the right is another. And if there's another one that you like, I'm not naming off, do it. You can slow the breath down, you can deepen it, you can play with it, but don't stop. Inhale, knees back up. Let's go ahead and put those feet on the ground and let's do that quad stretch. We're going to roll over onto our left side body, let's say. You can use that left arm as a pillow or a block if you want to. Bend the knees so you're not in your low back and have them more like a tabletop. And then bring that right knee towards the chest, grab the ankle, and then reach the knee down towards the bottom of your mat. Heel towards buttocks, yes, but that's actually the very last cue I work with. I think about the knee moving down, right? And I think about my frontal hip point pulling up to my chest. And as those two pieces move away from each other, that's the lengthening of your quadriceps. Trying not to let the knee lift up, which it would like to do for a lot of us. Take one more breath from there. And then release that leg. Roll on to your back. Pause. Notice if your right thigh, front of the thigh, feels different than the left front. Roll onto your right side body. Feel free to use that right arm as a pillow. The easiest way I know, and if you can grab it behind you, awesome. Not everybody can. Bring the knee towards the chest, grab the ankle, and that usually gives us leverage that we can then reach the left knee down to the bottom of the mat. Put the left frontal hip point up to the top. Take a breath or two from here and just feel the quad lengthening, quads lengthening. And is this side different than the other? And then release that leg, roll onto your back. We got one more. Let's say hi to our glutes before we Shavasana. Right ankle, left knee, flex the right foot, right thigh forward. You can stay right here, or you can bring those legs in, interlacing behind the left thigh. You might play a little bit with swaying the knees from right to left if that helps you find any little additional areas that are like, ooh, yeah, I didn't even know about you. You could use a stretch, right? Feel free to stay in stillness if you prefer that. And then let's bring the knees back to where they started. And now play with your pelvis. Rock a little bit in and out of, and where they started, I'm sorry, you're still grabbing behind your thigh. You're still in thread the needle, my bad. And then maybe rocking the pelvis a little in and out of cat-cow. And same idea, right? Maybe there's a spot. Usually when we move towards cow or arching the low back, we feel a little extra lengthening coming in. If there's a spot that's like, ooh, yeah, pause, take one more breath wherever you are. And then let's bring that left foot down to the ground, bring the right foot down to the ground, pause, take a breath. Bring that left ankle up to the right knee, flex the foot, thigh moves forward, either hanging out right here or bringing those legs in, interlacing behind right thigh. And again, possibly swaying the knees just a little bit right to left if that's a helpful tool and you find something. If it softens you, if you're a rigid kind of body or whatever that is, right? But if you don't like it, stay in stillness. Awesome. And then let's bring our knees back to the center, staying in the leg position. Move your pelvis in and out of cat-cow a few times. If that doesn't make sense or you don't want to do it, don't. When you go into that arch, more often than not, we start to lengthen the left buttocks, the main one, right? Gluteus maximus. Pause and breathe wherever the stretch that you need, you want right now is. Bring the foot down, release the left foot down. And just for good measure, let's walk our feet wide and let the legs windshield wiper. Arms can tee out, and just take one more bitty windshield wiper twist, just in case there's anything that can get free from that motion. And then when you feel pretty complete and ready, right, you'll walk your feet in just a little bit, knees to center, walk the feet in and just slide the legs out. That said, you know you can leave the feet wide and lean the knees in. Arms will come down just a little bit from that teed out position. Hopefully all the joints of the body end up wide open. Hopefully that middle body, your whole torso, so all of your organs have space to do their work. Hopefully your spine has all of its natural curves and the blood can flow, right? The neurons can flow, the impulses, all that kind of stuff, right? So let your body be wide open and free to do whatever it needs to do to integrate the last almost hour of practice we just had. So you guys are in Shavasana. Just letting that body release and relax down into the floor as much as it possibly can. I am a visualizer, so I often like to imagine that I become part of the earth and I have roots growing down into it. Sometimes I even imagine, right? I have things grass grow over me, grass grows up, so that I literally become the earth. If that's not helpful for you, don't do it. You're visualizing, feel free to stick with that visualization anytime you realize the mind has wandered off. And remember, you always have the breath, the sensations of the body, and then the sounds around you that you can return to. Presencing yourself. And that beautiful human mind of ours will take off again and go to virtual reality. No big whoop. We bring it either to the visualization we're working with or to the breath, the sensations, or the sounds. Bring your awareness back to your breath. And back to that physical body that you're residing in for this lifetime. If your body is requesting any kind of movement while you're down here on your back before you come up, maybe you allow that movement. Eventually, come on up and meet me in an upright posture, but bring that calm with you. Bring your hands together in front of your chest. Take a big ol' inhale. Gently bow that chin in. And taking just a moment there, right? Feel free to exhale, but just taking a moment of gratitude. Being grateful for these beautiful bodies. Even with all their issues, they're amazing. Being grateful for the city for allowing us to be in the park and around all this greenery and still allowing me to have Zoom people. And anything else you want to be grateful for. Namaste, friends.